Now, a rare tropical cyclone churned through the Strait of Malacca last week. Cyclone Senya triggered floods and landslides across Sumatra, southern Thailand, and parts of Peninsular Malaysia. Thousands have been displaced, hundreds killed, and communities devastated. But Singapore was spared. And to help us understand why, we're joined in studio by Assistant Professor Wang Jingyu from the National Institute of Education. Prof, welcome to the studio.
Glad to meet you.
Now, first of all, can we start a bit more if you can describe for us the exact path and trajectory of Cyclone Senya?
Okay, so the Cyclone Senya was initially originated in the center of the Malacca Strait as early as 19th November. And then it started to develop stronger to 25th November, and on 26th November, it started to propagate westward and made landfall over the Sumatra. And on 27th and 28th, it suddenly shifted the propagation direction to the eastward. And within 2 days, it crossed the entire strait and also the Malay Peninsula. And finally, on 13th, it disappeared over the South China Sea.
There was extensive damage that was caused across the entire region in the areas that you mentioned specifically. How did Singapore manage to escape its devastation in its path?
Singapore is located in the deep tropics, so we are close to 1 degree north to the equator. So over these regions, we are immune from the large-scale rotation, which is essential for the maintenance of the tropical storm or tropical cyclones. So it's like a natural barrier. If a tropical storm like Senyar chooses its pathway, so it would either choose westward propagation or eastward propagation, but to avoid propagating southward towards Singapore. So we are kind of immune from this kind of large-scale storm.
Yeah, and speaking of those natural barriers, how far was Cyclone Senya's center from Singapore at the cyclone's peak intensity?
The peak intensity occurred on 19th November over the southern Thailand and northern Malaysia. The linear distance from this location was around 800 kilometers away from Singapore.
And can you take us through some of the factors that weakened Sanya over time, which inadvertently also allowed Singapore to avoid the worst of the devastation? The propagation, as mentioned, Singapore is kind of immune from the attack of large-scale tropical storm or tropical cyclone. But however, we are not 100% secure from that. For example, back in 2001, Singapore was attacked by the typhoon Wamei, which directly made landfall over Singapore. So even we are less susceptible to the attack of the large-scale storm, we still need to be prepared. And another type of natural barrier then would be the huge land masses, in this case, Sumatra and also the Malaysian Peninsula. How do these land masses help to disrupt the storm's strength?
Yeah, the landmass of the Sumatra and the Malay Peninsula, they definitely played a very important role to constrain the rotation. Think of the Senyar like a the spinning top. So it prefers to maintain its high-speed rotation over a flat, smooth surface, which is the ocean surface. However, when the Senyar made landfall, hit the landmass of the Sumatra and the Malay Peninsula, it's like a spinning top hitting the curb. So the direction of the propagation will be deflected. In addition to that, the speed of the rotation will be slowed down significantly because we know the fraction over the landmass is much higher than the smooth ocean surface.
You know, you mentioned earlier that the last cyclone or storm to pass Singapore, hit Singapore, was in 2001. That was almost 24 years ago.
Yes.
Why is it that Singapore, while being in a region that is often hit by cyclones and big storms, why is it that we're often insulated from it?
That's a very good question. As mentioned, for the maintenance of the large-scale rotation, so Singapore and the entire Southeast Asia, the top killer, the most hazardous natural hazard is the tropical cyclone. So the tropical cyclone is a rotating storm. Its power comes from the strong, intense rotation. So it can bring torrential rainfall, gusty wind, and the storm surge. So Senyar, you can think Senyar is like a small-scale tropical cyclone or typhoon. So to maintain the rotation, you need to have the balance between the pressure gradient force and the Coriolis force.
But the Coriolis force by nature will decrease towards the equator and come to exactly 0 at the equator. So think a large-scale storm like Senyar or the 2001 Wame, like a monster. When it plans its pathway, it will either propagate westward or eastward instead of directly coming to the south towards Singapore.
Professor, thank you so much for shedding some light on this issue with us. I've been speaking to Assistant Professor Wang Jingyu, who is from NIE.